It's recording now. It's recording. Hi. Welcome to another episode of Asian Bad Girls Club. I'm Marianne.
I'm Daisy.
Angela, where are you?
I'm Angela.
Angela is going to make sure that we stay honest and stay on track, and she's going to yell at us if this video situation starts fucking up. But I guess we can go ahead and get started. I think we have a really fun show for you guys today. Daisy, teenage girls only have one thing on their mind, and that's quality childcare at very affordable prices. We are talking about the Babysitters Club today. Daisy, were you a Babysitters Club fan?
I didn't read the books as much, but no, wait. I was thinking about Sweet Valley High for a second there. I was like, I want to know.
Asian characters? I never read Sweet Valley High.
Yeah, I actually always confuse the two. But no, I didn't really read that much Babysitters Club, to my own dismay.
It's okay. I mean, we still have time because Babysitters Club is very much still happening. If you aren't familiar with the background of the Babysitters Club, it's a band of like ragtag girls that get together to start a childcare business for people in their neighborhood. So basically, they would call Claudia Kishi's phone and try and figure out like which babysitter was available to come and babysit for the kids. Claudia Kishi is the highlight of this episode, and she just means so much to me. Like, she just means so much to me. She is a Japanese-American girl, and in every way that people think of the model minority stereotype, Claudia Kishi breaks it in every way possible. And I didn't actually realize how much impact Claudia had on me until way later on, where I'm like, you know, doing my makeup crazy and wearing crazy clothes that Claudia would probably wear in her own life. I think she was one of the most impactful representations of Asianness and being an Asian girl growing up and doing all this stuff. And they have all of these fun adventures within the Babysitters Club books. It's not just like childcare, that's it. But Claudia is, I mean, I love her so much, and I can't wait to share her story with you. So
I'll say I definitely watched, I think, a movie.
Yeah.
Or two, definitely like from like the 90s-ish, probably. So like I am aware of that, or like maybe it's the 2000s. I don't remember. I definitely watched a movie, so I am aware of the premise. You know, I'm not completely lost to it, but I definitely like, I can't say that I ever read the book, so I can't wait.
With Rachel Lee Cook, right? The one that you watched?
I couldn't tell you.
Well, that's okay, because to me, Claudia is the only one that matters, and I can't wait to talk to you about her. Cool. So I will go ahead and share my screen. Claudia fucking Kishi, my ultimate Asian icon from the Babysitters Club. So for context, these are reimagined covers that Angry Asian Man Phil Yu redid, and it speaks so much to just Claudia and why I love her. Like, in the books, she was the only fucking Asian person at the school, Claudia Kishi, the only a damn Asian at the school. Claudia, and the frustrating lack of media representation. But Claudia was an amazing piece of representation for me. So this was drawn by Yumi Sakugawa, who made a graphic novel about Claudia Kishi. A few important facts about her. She's in middle school at Stoneybrook Middle School. It is a suburb somewhere in Connecticut. It's close enough to New York, and it hints at that, but whatever. So Claudia is the VP of the Babysitters Club. All of the meetings are held at Claudia's house because baby girl has her own phone line, okay?
What?
I know, like, she's living the dream. So she has her own phone line, but that also means when clients call for the Babysitters Club when they're not meeting, Claudia has to be the one to like schedule things and move shit around and answer those calls. She is Japanese American. And it's a very interesting story because her parents were actually born here. Both of her parents were born here. And then she has a grandmother named Mimi, who she's super close with. And I thought that was a different kind of representation because whenever there is a young Asian lead, it's usually that their parents were immigrants and she's first generation or something.
Right.
So she also doesn't speak Japanese, which I relate to because, like, I'm Filipino and I don't know my own language. So.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing, like, I definitely relate to part of it, and then I think the reason why I'm realizing now that I didn't probably read that much Babysitters Club is because I definitely didn't have the same definite freedoms as Claudia Kishi, even though I do not know much about her, I'll say, but I've never gotten my own phone line. Definitely could not have friends over my house because I do live that kind of stereotypical sheltered life a little bit.
A little bit.
Oh, it's so exciting, but I can understand now why I would have probably read it and been like jealous.
I feel like you would actually, her sister Janine, you might have more in common with, because Janine, in every way that Claudia would rebel against like being a good Asian girl, like Janine was very much like a studious Asian girl who like wanted to please her parents. And I feel like there's a very left brain, right brain thing going on there, where Claudia is like the creative right brain. Am I doing this right? And left brain is the analytical part. I don't know if that's correct, but there is that kind of a dichotomy going on there. But Claudia, she is very, very close with her grandmother Mimi, and Mimi is like the only one that understands like her creative spirit, and Mimi will stick up for her, and she understands Claudia in a way that Claudia's parents necessarily, you know, they want the best for her and they're trying to understand, but at the same time, they're very much her parents. So,
were you close to your grandparents?
I was, yeah. I mean, my grandmother on my dad's side, we were super close. And when my brother was being born, she was like always there. And I loved her so much. She died a few years back. She had Alzheimer's, unfortunately, which was really, really sad. My grandmother in the Philippines, I was pretty close to. She would come and visit, and she would stay for like months at a time because, you know, you're coming from the Philippines, so you want to go hang out for a bit. And she was rad. She has a mind like a tack, and she remembers absolutely everything. I always get a card from her on my birthday still, and I'm hoping if we can get up to the Philippines in the next few years, I can hopefully see her. She's getting old and she can't travel as easily as she used to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you close with your grandparents too?
Me, no, my parents were much older. Like I actually only had my two grandmothers, my
Mm-hmm.
parents' side, and they both lived in Thailand. So I only got to meet one of them like I met one of them a bunch of times and one of them like twice. And I got really wasted for the first time.
Oh, I love that. She's always been bad girl.
Yes, that's another story for another time.
Yes, I
Let's
might
say I
definitely
was
get into that.
ridiculously underage the first time I got wasted.
Angel's about to yell at us for going so far off the rail. Hi. Okay, so these
Yeah.
are like a few key facts about Claudia Lynn Kishi of Stoneybrook. So I wanted to go through a few character pillars of hers, and then I mean I think I see a lot of Claudia in you, Daisy, and definitely I see a lot of Claudia and Angela, but you know, feel free to disagree. A few important pillars. She is creative as fuck. She is an artist, so she has talked very briefly about how like images help her see things better than words or just like explaining things can, and she actually learned to draw before she could even read or write. So she's, whenever Claudia is depicted in the book, she's always like creating something cool, creating something new. In these photos here, like that center one is from the books, but it shows her very much being an artist. The other two on the end, that's from the TV show, and she's painting or creating collages. There is an interesting story, hence this butterfly photo here. When Claudia was in school, her teachers were like, okay, so we're doing an assignment where you have to draw a self-portrait. And Claudia was like, oh, I'm going to draw myself as a butterfly because that's how I see myself. So Claudia saw herself as a butterfly, and she drew herself as this beautiful, colorful butterfly. And then the teacher fucking gave her like a not good grade on it. So Mimi, her grandmother, came into school and was like, look, you said that they needed to draw a self-portrait. This is how Claudia sees herself. How are you interpreting this as wrong? Fuck you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a situation where Mimi was like sticking up for her when everybody else would have been like, well, Claudia, this isn't you. And they would have taken the assignment
Right.
literally. But she is always creating. She's always doing really cool things. And even when you're in her room, it's just like an extension of her creative universe. In these the center photo is from the movie that you might have saw. She's making like a wind chime thing out of forks. This girl is all about just like creative expression.
Okay, that is definitely the movie I saw. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they had the really cringy rap, the brain, center of the chain.
Oh my God, yes.
So another pillar of Claudia is that she's a popular girl with a heart of gold. I thought that was always like really cool to see an Asian girl who was like popular and very well liked and very friendly with everybody, because typically when they write characters like us, we're like, oh, the quiet girl who doesn't have a lot of friends aside from her math club or some shit like that. So her best friend is Stacy. They're both That's okay. I mean, whatever. There's no one way to be Asian, and you just the way you want it to. So, okay. Claudia is BFF with Stacey McGill, the blonde, in all of these. They are like the fashionistas of the Babysitters Club, and they low-key like feel like they're probably cooler than everybody else. They kind of are. Whatever. This is another remix cover. Claudia thought she told everyone to take off their fucking shoes because there were also scenes within the movie where people are sitting on Claudia's bed with their shoes, but because she's like a nice person, she's not going to call them out. Marianne and Christy, who are like head members of the Babysitters Club as well, refers to Claudia as the coolest girl that they know. So that says something. She's a sweet friend though. Like she does whatever for her friends. She like redecorates Marianne's room out of the goodness of her own heart. She is always there with Stacy. And in that movie that you saw, they went to a teen club together in New York. And yeah, she was there with Stacy when nobody else would go with her. She always comes through for them, but she's also described as being boy crazy.
Okay, so that's where we're aligned, me and Claudia. We get that. That's right. I get you, Claudia. I feel you, girl.
Yes. Girls just want to have fun, and Claudia wants to have fun. A lot of people also speak to, in the books, whenever Claudia would babysit for them, she would always start the kids on these art projects and do these cool things that are really, really fun and helping these kids create. And that would have been in the previous pillar, whatever, but she's a very friendly, cool person. Claudia is also, bitch, she is so bad at school. She is so fucking bad at school, and I love her for it because I was bad at school. My mom was like, please just like pass this class, I swear to God. But it's like a common theme that Claudia never does well in like math or science or any of these classes that Janine excelled in, but at the same time, she's taking college level art classes. So she excels at things that she's interested in, but school unfortunately just does not interest her. There's nothing
wrong with that. It's not for everybody.
There is nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's fine. There was a book right here, Claudia, Middle School Dropout Situation. That is one book where she was doing so badly in 8th grade that she had to go back to 7th grade.
What?
And, yeah, girl.
Wait, that's a real one? That's not one of those fake covers?
No, this is a real one. These are both real.
Oh, wow.
So there's her and Janine being depicted here, her sister. And then that's one where she's like, yeah, she's sitting there feeling out of place because she's back in 7th grade again. And she starts to do better in school. And actually her impact is like after she was in 7th grade for a little bit, all the other 7th graders started fucking dressing like her and putting their ponytail on top of her head. And like they all wanted to be like Claudia. But it's like a common theme that she doesn't love school. She's not very good at spelling. Like right here in this picture where it's like, I'm going to spell yearbook, Y-E-E-R book. It's fine. She doesn't like that kind of stuff. But she's also like rebellious in her own way. Within the books in her room, she's hollowed out those fucking books, girl, and she hides candy in them.
Oh, okay. That is, how do you know that you went deep? You went into a deep dive.
I mean, it's Claudia. These are the things that I remember. And these are the things that other people remember about her too. They're like, yeah, she was very rebellious in that way. Like she took the books that her sister would have read and decides to hide Twinkies in them. But she has a heart of gold, right? She shares them with the rest of her friends.
Yeah.
So talk about impact. But last and certainly not least pillar is this bitch has style. She has style. We talked about how all the 7th graders wanted to dress like her and be like her, but her outfit descriptions within the books are also just like the most colorful, vivid depictions of like what you could wear on your person. And I have a few that I'd love to read for you because they were so vivid in my mind. And when you're picturing these pieces of her outfit together, it's very much like, oh, somebody would wear that now. I would wear that now. She was described as having a wild streak in her that makes her buy belts made of feathers and wear knee-high socks with palm trees on them. Here's an outfit description that she had. She was wearing a big, loose white shirt with black splotches all over it and white pants that came just below her knees. My shoes, and might I point out I had a fight with my mom over permission to buy them, were dainty gold sandals that laced partway up my legs. Then I put on my pink flamingo earrings and a bracelet that said Claudia in heart-shaped beads. Finally, I braided my hair into 4 long braids, tied a ribbon around each, and fastened the ends with butterfly clips.
She's straight out of like a Lazy Oaf or like like Dolls Kill whatever, like 90s Delia throwback. Yeah, I'm picking up on that.
Yeah, she believes in the art of power clashing. She believes in a strong updo. She believes in the scrunchie. In this picture here where she has the collar on, that's from the TV show, and she referred to that outfit as being RBG chic. So we love her so much. She, like the Pebbles Flintstone ponytail, that's her signature. She always has mismatched earrings, and like even on the book covers, she's just like having so much fun with her look. And I love that for her. I feel like I was very much into the idea when I was a magazine editor, like I have to fit this brief, I have to wear all black and stuff, I have to wear like, oh my gosh, just chic, sleek things. But then when I left and then I met you guys and we were working together, I don't know, just being around you guys' creative energy like helped me tap into that. And then it was also like, oh, I see myself reverting to the things that I admired Claudia for wearing, just like crazy prints, crazy updos, shit like that. So, Claudia.
Because nobody's stopping you from wearing whatever makes you smile.
Exactly. And I mean, that goes in line with your previous talk on Decora. You are just putting things on you that make you happy, and there's nothing wrong with that. So there have been a few different depictions of Claudia there were the books, right? And the books were wonderful. Sometimes you could kind of tell that a white lady wrote them though, because the depiction of how her appearance was like, she has long, silky black hair and almond shaped eyes and perfect skin. When it's all like, okay, you are writing about her in a very stereotypical way, but also all eyes are almond shaped, I think.
At least she didn't call her a mystery from the Orient.
Yeah, exactly. So sometimes they would write about her like that, but at the same time, like I can't fault them too much, but because her Japanese Americanness was not her most interesting thing about her. Like I liked that they had her interested in different things. She was bad at school. She was doing all this other stuff that wasn't like just
she was a typical American girl without having to be the Asian American girl, which doesn't happen often. It's like, yeah, they're usually kind of, to what you've noted before, like a side character, or that's their one kind of redeeming value. Actually, in a lot of ways, she's like a more artsy version of your last ABG.
I miss Nicole.
Yeah.
Yeah, she is. And I think that
She's the art kid version, you had the cheerleader and now you have the art kid.
And I mean, Claudia could have been cheerleader. She was like a fucking popular girl in school, whatever. So there were 3 different depictions of her in media. So there was a TV show that came out in 1990. There was the movie that you saw in, I think, 95. And then the most recent Babysitter's Club reboot it's phenomenal, and we'll go into it. But the first person that was depicted as her was this girl, Jenny F. Winslow, in the Babysitter's Club 1990 TV show. It's very, I mean, Jenny's wonderful and I loved her in the show, but it is also pretty obvious that she is half Asian in this. And I think this is not a knock on Jenny at all. I thought she was wonderful, and if anything, like I thought she was cool because I had never seen another girl who was half on TV. But it's also like, if we're going by Claudia in canon where she is Japanese American, like we should cast a Japanese American actress. It would have been fine too, but they had cast a full Asian actress to play Janine, her sister. So I don't know. I don't think it's not a knock on Jenny at all. I thought she was wonderful in this role. It speaks more to where casting was at and where Hollywood was at in terms of depictions of Asian Americans in the year 1990 or even 1989 when they were working on this. Because I feel like
I'm still honestly amazed that they even cast anybody who is Asian at all. So I'm here for a girl. Where we were with that crazy movie with Scarlet Letter A girl. What's her name? I mean, like I was just, I mean, we're fine with that. So this, at least I don't, I don't like to separate between like being half Asian, because for me it's always like, at least they're Asian.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, this is, like we said, like we're happy to see her, and we're happy to see Claudia represented as this cool fucking girl Jenny, but it also speaks to like what Hollywood wasn't doing at the time, and for whatever reason you would have to be like somewhat close to whiteness in order to be this main character.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's the theme song slaps. It's like really, really good, and I like jam out to it. I didn't watch any of the other episodes except for the Claudia ones. So we love Jenny, and we love that she did this for us. So,
yes, Emma Stone.
in the movie, she was played by Trisha J. She was so cute. I wanted more Claudia in the movie because, like, I'm such a Claudia stan, but it focused a lot on, like, Christy and Marianne and Christy's dad that was, like, absent and all this other shit. But Trisha J was wonderful. It's interesting to note that both Trisha and Jenny F. Winslow didn't act after Babysitter's Club. Like, Jenny F. Winslow, couldn't find very much about her. I couldn't even find social accounts of hers. Trisha, I was able to see her Facebook, and she has like a completely different life now. So she got an AA in dance from Fullerton College. She remained in the arts for a little bit, but then later on, girl, she got a BS in criminal justice from California State University. So like Trisha Joe is out there still killing it. She's Claudia, but also she's like
catching those killers.
Mm-hmm. She's kicking ass. But in the most recent depiction, we have my girl Momoa Tamata, and she is delightful. She is so delightful. The way that they did Claudia, I think that they totally did her justice, if you will. And it's interesting to note that some of the people who worked on this Babysitter's Club reboot were fans of the original series. So you know they're going to do right by us.
Mm-hmm.
Claudia in this, I think she was written wonderfully because she's very true to her character and everything that we just went over, but she embodies like what Claudia would be like now. She, in the beginning when we were introduced to her, she's making a sculpture about menstruation. Her outfit is RBG chic. She and Dawn, like later in the series, fucking lead a revolution at camp. And Dawn,
okay.
Yeah.
I'm vibing with this version of Claudia, yeah.
Oh, you would love
her. Patriarchy. Yeah, hell yeah.
You would absolutely love her because also the cast is way more diverse than in the previous iterations. Like Marianne is recast as half black, Dawn is Latinx, and Claudia is she's wonderful. And you see just how Claudia would be in the year 2020. Like she gets an old Etsy photo and refers to it as iconic. And you know how much I love that word. So and it's just a very delightful depiction. And I can't encourage you to watch it enough because it's just wonderful. And Claudia meant a lot to a lot of young girls, and to see somebody like Momoa in this role now, she's going to mean a lot to a lot of girls who look like her. And the legacy of Claudia Kishi and encouraging your own creative spirit, I believe, will continue, which also brings me to her legacy, Claudia's legacy that lives on in all of us. So as I mentioned, Yumi Sakagawa made a really cool graphic novel about her Asian American role model in Claudia Kishi. There's another book, We Are the Babysitters Club, written by a lot of fans that are our age that really look to these books. But yeah, just speaking to Claudia, I think Yumi also contributed to that. But Claudia has launched like fashion blogs inspired by her in her own way. Like there's another one called What Claudia Would Wear, where somebody will go and put together an outfit and put it on there because that's what Claudia would wear. And there was it's wonderful. There was another Claudia style blog, and they're actually analyzing pieces of her wardrobe from the reboot, in addition to like speaking to a lot of her old school stuff. But there is a 17-minute documentary on Netflix called The Claudia Kishi Club, which retouches on a lot of what I told you just about why we love Claudia. But you see her legacy living on in the form of these Asian American creatives who are graphic novelists, who are artists, who are graphic designers, all of these ways that they are in creative fields now. It was empowered by Claudia, and seeing somebody like Claudia who is not your traditional Asian American, you couldn't quite fit into that role, but you saw yourself in Claudia. And I guess just like, I get highly emotional when I talk about her because like she just means so much to me.
Well, that's the way it should be. That's why she's your ABX of the week.
Yes, and of my like entire life. I mean, I told you so much about how she just encouraged me to like be myself and be as creative as I wanted to be. And she also like taught me that like there's no one way to just like be Asian American. Oh my god, bitch, I'm gonna cry. Like I love her so much. I love her so much. Like, she taught me you don't have to be Asian American in these ways that people want you to be. You can just like be yourself and be as awesome as you are, and that is like fine, and that's valid, and that's wonderful. And
I'm mad that I didn't read these books when I was younger because I really could have used that.
come on, it's not too
It
late,
took me
girl.
till I was 16 to get out of there, girl.
We can have like an Asian Bad Girls Club book club and go into this because, yeah, they actually really, in the books, as much as they were made in the 90s and 80s, they touched on some progressive things. Like, there was a book where Claudia had to deal with these fucking racist kids, and that was a whole topic that we're still dealing with today. And I feel like this is part of her legacy, but her legacy also like lives on in the hearts and minds of like these Asian Americans that want to be creative.
Right. And who also went through her experience as well, or felt parts of her experience, which is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, her Asianness wasn't her entire story, but it definitely was part of it because there was part of her story where her grandmother, she finds out that she was in an internment camp when she was younger. And Claudia makes a piece of art about that. And I just, the tears, the tears, the tears. But all of this is why, Claudia Kishi, you are my ABX of my entire life.
That's for Claudia Kishi.